Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your Uncle Lasky here. How you doing today? Let's go for another walk. So I can already tell, right? If you're watching this video based on the title, you are either scared, angry, annoyed, or honestly, a mixture of all these things. But look, here's the thing, my son. Here's the thing, my dear sweet summer child. It is important to keep up with. You need to know what's going on. Look, I get it. I've always had an interest in history, and in one way or another, I always kept up with geopolitics, especially coming, my family comes from Honduras, and there was a time when I was growing up where it was one of the most dangerous countries in the fucking world outside of an active war zone. That's how bad that shit was, right? So I've always kind of had my hand in the cookie jar, in the honey pot. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing, right? As a teenager, there's so much going on in your life that you just don't keep up with any of this shit. And even, I would say, even as a young, early adult, a lot of people just kind of tend to ignore these things. And to a certain point, that's kind of understandable. You're going through so much crap. You're going through school. You're learning how to be a person. So you don't give a fuck about what's going on in, I don't know, Sudan or some shit like that. You don't understand the you don't understand the huge implications of a pretty much giant proxy war happening in the middle of Africa. What do you care? You don't care. You got dance tomorrow. You got soccer. You got prom. You got graduation. You're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life, right? But you get to a certain age and you simply cannot ignore it anymore. And I know a lot of people do. But the thing is, here's the thing, right? People don't keep up with all the shit that's going on. And I get it. It's overwhelming. Trust me. I've been there. Uh, I made a whole video on on how social media fed me a bunch of news, and it drove me to a point where I was, I needed to get off social media. I'll hyperlink that video here. That shit was crazy. But, look, here's the thing, right? You just can't ignore it. You need to know what's going on with certain things, right? Especially, dude, once you're past the age, let's say you're the age that, once you're out of college, you need to be paying attention to shit because you need to understand what's going on economically. It's your money. This is all of our money. Look, I'm not saying pay attention maybe to the stock market or stocks and stuff. I mean, you don't really need to be doing all that. But here's the thing, right? Ignorance is bliss, but it also leaves you at risk. You know what I mean? Look, even in something as simple as the weather. Granted, I'm one of those people who, I don't know what happened to me. Maybe I'll make a video on this one day, but I don't know what it was, but once I got over the age of 26, I don't know if this is an old man thing, but I just became obsessed with the weather. you know, like I'm trying to be prepped for the weather 7 days in advance. I want to know what it's going to be like next, whatever day today is. I don't even know anymore. But here's the thing, right? Even just keeping up with the weather and the general weather patterns will have you potentially ready for a potential stretch of bad weather. I can imagine, there were some people just man, where did this heat wave come from? It's dude, we've been telegraphing this heat wave for a week. Where have you been? Why weren't you ready? You should have been aware of this, right? And it's fucking nuts. And granted, right, sometimes it's hard for us to, you would think with how much news outlets and all this shit out there that we'd be prepared for anything. But truthfully, right, even here in the town that I live in, we're currently in a level 2 drought. We're not at a, thankfully, at a level 4 drought here, right? But we're in a drought. And the only reason I know this is because I try to obsessively keep up with my town. But there's been no mail sent out. There's been no fucking flyers or emails. It's just, the only reason I know is because I have my ways of finding shit out. But there are a bunch of people walking around my town not knowing that we're in the middle of a drought. Think about how scary that is. And here's the thing with the drought, right? If you don't know you're in one, you will continue to use your water haphazardly. Like, granted, I'm not the most perfect specimen in the world, right, when it comes to conservation and stuff, right? But as soon as I heard, hey, we're in a bit of a drought over here, I was like, all right, let me make some changes here and save some water because, who knows what the fuck's going to happen. Let's try not to make it worse. If we can do it on an individual basis, all of us collectively, then we can maybe do something about it, right? But the thing is, not enough people know because a lot of people tend to just ignore the news. They just ignore shit. If they're not outright told, like, dude, there's so many laws that come into play here that people have no idea about, and it's just like, well, it was announced. Like the drought one. Cool. If that went over your head, cool, dude. Because it was a small bulletin, like fucking, just I happen to see. That's crazy, right? But there's a lot of laws almost every day that just get written into the books that people have no idea about because they're not keeping up with it. And then years down the line, they're like, oh shit, this is fucking me over. This is impacting me. When was this a thing? It's like, yeah, it's been a thing, but you were ignoring it. Like I said, you need to know what's going on, especially nowadays, dude. Like, let's be clear about something, right? I can't understand that people are like, man, I miss the days when you could trust the government. When they were honest with you, when they cared about you. It's like, brother, what the fuck are you talking about? The U.S. federal government, the one that, like the one that backs the CIA during the MK Ultra exams or experiments, the ones that covered up multiple bullshit from the public, the ones that the U.S. government that drafted young men barely out of high school to go die in fucking Vietnam, kill people, spread Agent Orange, not even help them when they come back. That U.S. federal, come on, dude, don't give me that bullshit. We all know what the fuck our government's about. And now, you can blame it on the Orange Man. You can blame it on fucking Biden. But this has been a long trend where the people in our government put themselves above us. They don't give a fuck about us. They give a fuck about their perception to us. But in terms of like actually caring about you, dude, they don't give a fuck about you. They probably just want you, like, let's not even fucking go there, right? But here's the thing, right? What's ramping up now, and what's been ramping up since the first Orange Man term has been, if you're a fucking minority, my guy, I don't know how the fuck you could not be paying attention to the news. Because we are seeing, like, your very existence is a pain to people, to certain people out there, and now they have people in power that are willing to make your life as difficult as possible. Like, I get it, right? It's super first world problem to be like, every American at a base level has problems. There's no perfect country. Now, granted, we're not overtly poverty stricken. You could argue we are, but we're not a overtly poor country. There's no war on our soil, even though the fact that we're pretty much always at war, we're never at war on our soil, all this stuff, right? But we as a society and as a people here in America, we have our own problems, right? But add on top of that, the hardships of being a minority, it goes up exponentially, right? And now it's even worse because we have a government who is actively going out of its way to make your life as fucking miserable as possible. And you're telling me that you ain't keeping up with it because, oh, Kanye's got a fucking concert coming around? Oh, did you see the new sneaker drop? Or, hey, man, are you watching the newest show? Are you watching the newest yada, yada, yada? And it's like, all right, well, how about this bill that's about to fucking, send us back another 100 years? And they're like, oh, well, I don't care about politics. I don't pay attention to it. And then they complain about how hard their life is. Meanwhile, there's laws being enacted right now that are going to make your life even more difficult. Like, you cannot afford to not be paying attention. And I get it, right? It's hard to make a change, and it's hard to feel like you can make a change. But you just got to be aware of some of this stuff, though, because people think this shit is so far away from you. It's like, yeah, but it's gonna end up around you. It's gonna end up affecting you. This is just how it happened. Like, there's no laws that are passed in Washington that are only passed in Washington. This shit is nationwide. You need to pay attention. Honestly, and this is the thing. This is the real crux of it. For most Americans, it is the epitome. And if you're gonna take one thing from this video, it's this one piece of self-awareness that you and most Americans need to be aware of. It is the epitome of privilege to be able to ignore the news. The fact that most people can afford to ignore the news because our cities aren't on fire, our waters aren't poisoned by bullshit, our mountains and volcanoes aren't exploding, there's no on the ground drug war, there's no this, there's no that, all this shit that other countries have to deal with and they have to be aware of. It is the epitome of privilege of Americans to not have to pay attention to the news, because everything that we do affects other countries on their fucking soil. Like, the amount of people that just straight up ignored the shit that was happening in Iran. Meanwhile, it's a huge geopolitical issue, and it's being done with the tax-paying money of the American citizen. And these people have just the absolute first world privilege of being able to ignore it. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane to just be able to just shut this shit out and say it's not your problem when it is. It's privilege. It's an absolute privilege. It's nuts. And it gets even crazier because then, there's a lot of people in this country who see the news and then they get it from some twisted news source. And, then it turns into propaganda. And that's obviously, like, one of the most important things when it comes to your news is being able to vet what you're watching. Like, dude, don't get your news from Fox News, dude. Fox News is not news. It's garbage. And there's a bunch of garbage news stations on the other side. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a lot of these news stations, they need your viewership. And they'll get it however they think they can get it. If they want to if they notice that their viewership comes from the rah USA, Team America crowd, brother, they will say whatever the fuck they need to say. They will twist whatever news they can get into whatever way they can just siphon that shit into your brain so you can keep watching and spouting their nonsense. And it's the same on the other side. I'm not going to sit here and have the debate of like, oh, well, which one's worse? Fuck them both, dude. Fuck them both. It is what it is. Vet your news sources. Don't believe everything you hear on the news either. Like, you can have the same event and it'll be discussed completely differently on two different news stations. It's crazy based on the bias of its viewers. It's just, with everything news related, you have to be careful. You have to be careful to understand, one, where you're getting this news source from. You have to pay attention. Like, there are certain moments in history where you can kind of put it on the back burner. Right now is not one of those times. It is a very tumultuous time in human history, and people need to be fucking paying attention. And like I said before, if there's anything for you to take away from this rambling of a fucking madman over here, it's a privilege to be able to ignore the news that you do not have anymore. You need to pay attention. You have to. I get it. It's somewhat boring sometimes. It's scary. It's horrifying a lot of the times. It's fucking horrifying, and it can put you into a spiral. It's happened to me before. But ignorance is not bliss in this case. You need to be aware of what's happening. And that's all I'll say before, I risk just repeating this on ad nauseum for another 15 minutes and I blow my fucking voice. So thank you guys for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe if you liked the video. And I'll check you guys out on our next hike. Thanks, guys. Bye.